Hi guys, and welcome to Escape Wheel Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the Thorn T026, the Spacewalker. So I purchased this watch with earnings from this channel when it first came available on 11/11. Thank you guys, because without you, this video wouldn't be possible, so I appreciate you guys. And if by the end of this review you do want to pick one of these up, I'll be leaving a link down in the video description. That is to the official Thorn website. That's where I purchased it from, and I think that's where you guys should purchase it from too. The retail price is listed at $200 US. I purchased it for $180. I saw these on AliExpress for around $140 during the 11/11 sale, so be sure to shop around. But the link in the description is to the official Thorn store. That's where you're going to get the best customer support, in my opinion. So the Spacewalker model only comes in one colorway right now. I'm hoping they release some new ones. So the T026 line of watches is the homages to the Omega trilogy. So there are 3 different watches in there. The 2 other ones are a dive watch and a field style watch with automatic movement. So this is the chronograph version, so just something to keep in mind. The watch case is made of 316L stainless steel. It has a sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating, a screw-down crown, screw-down case back, 100 meters of claimed water resistance, and the watch is powered by the Swiss Ronda 5030D quartz chronograph movement. So you guys probably all know that I am a sucker for a speedy homage. I'm a sucker for the speedy design in general. I've always loved this, the Omega 57 trilogy. I think they're awesome, and it's probably, besides the Speedy Pro, is the one that I would go after. So I was quite happy to see Thorn put one out, and I'm quite happy to tell you that it is really, really good. So we'll get into the full review, but before we do a quick wrist check today, wearing my other Speedy homage, just so happen to have this one on. Yeah, really still liking this one. Yeah, we'll kind of do a little comparison here and there. All right, so let's talk about dimensions. Got a bezel diameter of 38.4 millimeters, case thickness of 12.4 millimeters. You've got 19 millimeter lug width, lug tip to lug tip just a hair over 47, and sized up for my 7.5 inch wrist with 3 links removed. It weighs 127 grams. So I was kind of surprised by the size. I think the size is just a little bit smaller than the original watches. 19 millimeter lugs is a little bit of a bummer, I will say that. I've been able to accumulate some 19 millimeter straps, and some of the 20 millimeter straps do fit, but obviously this would be a lot better if they just widen that up to 20 millimeters. But I know why they didn't do that. The original has 19 millimeters, so yeah, that's what they stuck with. But I will say the overall dimensions are just about perfect for my preferences. Really nice slim mid case, as you can see here, with some nice turn down, really tall bubble crystal. So 12.4 millimeters. That does include the crystal. So the case itself wears a lot thinner than that does. So I am really happy with the way that this watch wears. I've been really enjoying it for the past 5 days or so. And yeah, I've got no issues with it. So I'm going to go outside right now and throw it on my wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and as you can see, I think it wears great. You got really nice turn down to the lugs. It holds nice and flat on the wrist, and the curvature of those lugs is just about perfect. So really, really happy with that. There is a lot of polishing going on here. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. I thought it would bother me, but it really doesn't. I do like a little bit of flash on my watches from time to time. So yeah, it's not that bad. I know it's going to get scratched though. So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys kind of a view of how this thing looks. You can see the crystal struggling a little bit here underneath the oak tree. It's not bad, but yeah, it is definitely struggling just a little bit. That's one of the points that I would like to see improved on this watch, but I do really like the way that this looks. Let's go throw this on some straps and let's get back to the review. Okay, here we are on another strap. This is a leather strap, one off of AliExpress. I'll leave the link down below. I believe this is listed as the vintage strap. Nice strap. I actually grabbed this one and realized that I don't have a buckle, so it's just kind of sitting on top of my wrist there. But I do think that color combo looks really, really good. And here we are on a FKM cut to size strap, just a smooth black one. I think it looks really, really good. I had no doubts. And yeah, super comfortable. And here we are, same strap, just a green color. Again, just looking really good. I think this is a strap monster. It's going to look good on a lot of different straps. I'm just kind of limited to my 19 millimeter strap selection, that's all. And here we are on a single pass strap. There you go, you can see right there, one layer underneath the watch. Sits really, really nice. This is a 20mm strap. You can kind of tell, but for the most part it works, and most single pass straps do work well. Looks good though. And last up, here we are on a nylon strap. This is a ribbed nylon, kind of a bluish gray color. Looks absolutely fantastic. There's 2 layers underneath the watch and it still wears very nicely. So yeah, I just really like the way that this watch wears. I think it's kind of a strap monster. But let's go back inside and let's get back to this review. All right, so let's talk about the case finishing. So case finishing, it's a mixture of brushing and polishing. So from the top down, you can see here we do have a circular brushing on the bezel there. The tachymeter scale is engraved and then filled with black paint. It's pretty thin font, so it does get lost from time to time, but for the most part, it does a pretty good job here. You can kind of see the alignment down there at the 120, just a hair off, but if you look at the original, the Omega, it's the same way. So yeah, I'm not really sure why everyone keeps doing that. I know the scale is, it should be right dead center on the 120 at the 6 o'clock, but it is what it is. It doesn't bother me. The bezel itself, again, done very nicely. The circular brushing is nice and consistent. Flipping it to the sides here, you can see the bottom edge of the bezel is polished. Looking at the tops of the lugs here, we do have polishing on the tops of the lugs. We have a nice big polished chamfer as well, which separate the top from the sides. The sides are horizontally brushed. Very nice brushing on this, very nice, silky smooth. The bottom of the case here has been nicely rounded. There's absolutely no sharp edges on this at all. It feels like a very high quality case. And I think the case finishing, as much as I don't like polishing on the tops of the lugs, part of me actually does like it, and I know why they did it, but yeah, I think I would prefer brushing on the top, but again, I know why they did it. So flipping it over to the crown side here, you can see signed screw down crown with the Thorn logo. I really do like the Thorn logo. Simple pushers here, polished. I think they look fine. But again, the case finishing on this side, looking good. Again, and the bottom edge here has been rounded off nicely. So the case back, they showed this one off before they released this model, and it does look fantastic. You kind of have this coin edge style thing here. You got a nice deep depressing there with the Thorn logo. Again, it all looks very nice. It all feels very nice. You do have simple notches there to get a tool into if you really need to. So yeah, I'm really happy with the case finishing on this watch. I think they did an excellent job with it, despite my indifferences with the design of the polishing and the brushing. They actually executed it very nicely. All right, so let's talk about the crystal. First things first, we'll test it for sapphire, and it is positive for sapphire. So the crystal on this watch is excellent. It is a double dome or bubble dome sapphire crystal. So as you can see there, looking really, really good. Really big gradual radius there on the corner. It kind of reminds me more of an acrylic crystal as opposed to something like this, which is more of an abrupt angle or abrupt radius there. It kind of gives more of a top hat appearance. This one just gives me a little bit more of a vintage vibe to it. And I think they did a very good job on it. It does have some clear anti-reflective coating. It could use some more, I will say that. The crystal on the Watchdives is a little bit better. Yeah, it's kind of hard to show it off here, but you know, putting some light on my face and then looking at the dial, the Watchdives appears, the reflection appears a little bit darker. So that's how I gauge it. But the crystal on the watch is actually still pretty darn good. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. I know showing it off on camera doesn't really tell the whole story. It appears a lot more reflective on camera just because of the bright lights, and yeah, it's just the way it is. So the crystal on the watch is not bad at all. I wish it just had a few more layers of anti-reflective coating, and then I would be really happy with it. But I will say the shape of it is amazing. Really, really nice. Very happy with the shape of the crystal. That can't be a cheap crystal to make. So yeah, just something to think about when you're looking at this watch. The crystal on this watch really does kind of elevate the look of the watch, in my opinion. All right, so talking about the dial here, so we do have a matte black dial. It only comes in black. Hopefully we'll see some different hands and some different dial options soon, but this is what we have for now. We have printed markings at all the hour markers there in that faux patina. We have the cock and balls there at the 12 o'clock position. Everything is done very nice. They've got nice printing on the dial. The Thorn logo with the Spacewalker text and the chronograph text there, all looking very good. I do like the Spacewalker name. I think that's pretty cool. The chronograph subdials, they are recessed, as you can see here. They're done a little bit shallower than the Watchdives. You can see the Watchdives has some pretty deep dishing on those. So again, just something to consider. You definitely have more depth on the Watchdives dial, but this one doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad at all. One thing I will mention about the chronograph setup here, the 3 and 9 o'clock subdials, you can see they are raised above the horizontal line there. So it's something that I thought might bother me, but I have the Ferrisuit TrackMaster, which is the same way. They're just raised up just a little bit. It doesn't bother me on that watch. Hasn't bothered me on this watch either. So I did just want to mention that to you guys. But the chronograph subdials here, very nicely done and much more useful than you get on the Watchdive. So again, something else to consider. We have a running seconds hand here at the 3 o'clock, 12-hour chronograph totalizer at the 6 o'clock, 30-minute totalizer at the 9 o'clock. The chronograph seconds hand here is just a very simple needle hand. There's no, I kind of wish that was white, but other than that, it's fine. You got no issues with that. The hour and minute hand, we have our broad arrow hour hand here, really nicely sized, and then we have our kind of dagger style of minute hand. Good length on both of those. They do kind of get lost from time to time, but there is enough lume on them where legibility hasn't been an issue for me. So yeah, again, it's one thing that just kind of comes across differently on camera than it does in person. So yeah, I think the handset on this is very nice. The chronograph hand, this is something I've noticed with pretty much any chronograph movement besides the Seiko VK63. You can see here, the alignment is just a hair off, right? So it kind of shifts depending on how gravity is pulling it. So you can see gravity is pulling the hand that way. So you can see there it is just a little bit off. If I tilt the watch this way, give it a little tappy tap, you can see the alignment is spot on. So there is just a little bit of slop in that chronograph seconds hand. That's one of the things that I really appreciate about the Seiko VK, but this movement has actually surprised me. So we'll talk about that here in just a second. The lume on the watch, we'll talk about some lume. I'm going to pop up a lume shot against the Watchdives and a Pagani Design. The Watchdives is actually really good. The lume on this watch is okay. It's about what I expected. It's printed. It's not a whole, a big area of lume. It does fade pretty evenly, I would say, but yeah, the lume on this watch is not the best, but far from the worst. If the Watchdives I'd say is like a 6, this one's probably like a 4. So usable lume, but just not the best lume. And it's not something that I could easily read in the middle of the night. So just don't rely on this watch for the lume. All right, so let's talk about the movement on this watch. It's interesting. It's the first time I've had this movement in the watch, and I have to say, I actually really like this movement. So there were some things that early on kind of worried me about it. One of the things was the chronograph pushers, and a lot of these movements that I've had that aren't the Seiko VK have kind of squishy chronograph pushers. That's not the case here. So you do have a pretty decent click, a tactile click on the start stop button there, and then another one on the reset button here, which we'll talk about here in just a second. But there's multiple functions to the timing. So we have just our normal start stop chronograph function, right? So you can click the top button, it'll stop it. You click the top button again, it'll start up from where it was. If you click the bottom button here, it enters the lap timing function. So you can set it to this time here, click it again, and it'll jump, kind of keep that timing. So it'll jump here. So you can see there. So that's a nice function of this movement. One of the other nice functions over the VK's movements are 12-hour totalizer there and the 30-minute chronograph here. So having this 30-minute chronograph timer here, very useful. It makes it a lot easier to tell the time. And one thing that I really like about this movement is the fact that the minute hand jumps. It doesn't gradually sweep around. It jumps right at the 00. So watch this. Boom. So there's no guessing. And that's kind of important if you're going to use this for timing. So that has been a nice addition to this. The hour hand, that one does gradually move around. So just something to note. But yeah, I do really like that instant click forward. That's pretty cool. So resetting the chronograph here. So we will stop it here, and you'll see the hands will sweep around and align themselves here nicely. One thing that happens sometimes is the hands get out of alignment, and you can fix that on this. You cannot fix that on that watch there. So yeah, that's another bonus of this movement. So to fix that, you screw out the crown there. Really nice, smooth screw in and screw out action on this model. You pull it out to the time setting position. You can see there it does hack the movement. And then you press and hold the top and bottom pusher for 2 seconds. See the hand sweep around. So now we are in alignment mode, so to speak. So if you click this top one here, you'll see the chronograph hand start to tick around. You press and hold it, it'll start sweeping around, and then you can align it how you want to. Click this bottom button, and that moves to the subdial down here. Same way. Click it around, and you can get the alignment right. So this one was actually out of alignment when I first got the watch, so I was able to correct that, which is nice. You click the bottom button again. It goes into this one over here. And again, you can kind of do the same thing. So you should be able to align this thing pretty accurately if it ever comes out of alignment. You press in the crown, it goes back into normal setting there. So there are some definite advantages to this movement, and I honestly think I'm still on the fence. I really miss the instant snapback, and I really miss the smooth seconds hand on the chronograph. But other than that, I think I prefer this movement over the Seiko VK. So yeah, it's actually a very nice movement. The crown setting or the crown positioning and all that seems fine. It feels exactly like you would expect it to and functions exactly like you would expect it to. We do have a ghost date position. I didn't mention that. I can hear it clicking around back there. Not a big deal to me, but some people seem to be bothered by that. The screw in, screw out action on mine has overall been pretty smooth. Every once in a while, it'll catch on the threads, and I just have to, wind it back and then wind it, and it's fine. But yeah, for the most part, I've actually been really enjoying this movement, and it's been getting into the specifics of the movement. It is accurate to -10 or +20 seconds per month, so it's more accurate than that one out of the box. I suspect it's going to be much more accurate than that in real life. And then the battery life is listed at 54 months. You can pull the crown out, and that reduces battery consumption by 70%. So just something to note, but if you leave the chronograph seconds hand running, that does drain the battery a little bit. So yeah, just a couple specs for you guys. But I do really, really like this movement, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. All right, so let's talk about the bracelet on the watch. So the bracelet is 19 millimeters, tapering down to 16 millimeters at the clasp. You can see here, polishing on the outer links, brushing on the inner links. The brushing and polishing seems to be done to a nice standard. I've got no issues with that. The tolerances on it seem to be okay. There's a little bit of jangle, but really not bad for a watch of this price range. The bottom edge here has been rounded off nicely. We do have screws for sizing. Yeah, we have screws for sizing. I removed 3 links for my 7.5-inch wrist. We have solid links and solid end links. We have quick release spring bars on the end links as well, which is nice. They work perfectly. The end links themselves, they fit into the case nicely. There is just a little bit of wobble. You guys can see there's a little bit of a gap there. It's not horrible, but it's something that I noticed and thought I would share with you guys. But I think the end links follow the case curvature perfectly. But yeah, they're female pivot, so they drop straight down. Articulation on the bracelet has been perfect. Doesn't pinch hairs or anything like that. So overall, I am pretty happy with the bracelet on this watch. It's actually been very, very comfortable. Getting our way to the clasp here. It's a clasp we've seen before. We do have the Thorn logo, which is kind of applied in a little indentation on the clasp here. We have brushing on the top, brushing on the sides, and a nice polished chamfer there. So finishing wise, it's very nice. The edges on this are all rounded off nicely. There's no sharp edges on it. But this is the same clasp that we've seen on St. Martin's. So we kind of know what to expect here. Fully milled on the inside, nice tight tolerances. It opens and closes with a nice satisfying click every single time. So no issues there. And then we do have an on-the-fly adjustment system. So it's one of the ones where you can push it in without pressing a button, but to extend it out, you do have to press the button. So I typically put it on wrist long and then size it down to where I need it to be. But this one functions just fine. I've got no issues with that. It hasn't hung up on me. It feels very smooth. It's got nice ratcheting sounds, about, I want to say it's like 7.5 millimeters of adjustment. So you're going to be able to get a perfect fitment, especially because the links are pretty small on this watch. So yeah, overall, I have been very happy with this bracelet. I don't like all the polishing on it, but it kind of flows with the rest of the watch. So yeah, just something to consider. I wish they would just do a fully brushed bracelet and brush the tops of the lugs there. I know that's how Omega did theirs, but who says we can't improve on what they've done, right? So yeah, the bracelet on the watch, actually a highlight of it in my opinion. So there you go, guys. That is the Thorn T026 Spacewalker. I know a lot of people are going to compare it to this watch here. I definitely think there's some advantages and disadvantages to both of them. I think case finishing and crystal, the crystal clarity definitely goes to the Watchdives. I think the dial goes to the Watchdives. Lume goes to the Watchdives. The bracelets are hard to compare just because they're a different design. I do feel like this one on the Thorn is a little bit better, but it's not significantly better. And yeah, I think case finishing wise, they're about equal. Yeah, they're both excellent options. I know the Watchdives is a little bit cheaper. The Thorn, the crystal on the Thorn, and I think the overall speedy look gets captured by the Thorn a little bit better, just because I think it's all in the crystal. So if I put them side by side here, you can see the crystals on the two watches. The rehaut depth appears to be a little bit shallower on the Thorn, and yeah, I just think it gives off more true speedy vibes. Sadly, it's not a Speedy Pro. I wish Thorn would do a Speedy Pro. I think they could do it really nicely. But yeah, I think both options are very good. Just you got to go in knowing some of the drawbacks to this one here. The crystal is a little bit reflective, 19 millimeter lugs, and all the polishing. So you got to kind of want this design to buy it over that one, in my opinion. But yeah, I think what they've done is really nice, and I like where Thorn is going. This is 2 releases in a row. This one and the T23, which have really kind of blown me away and taken up 3 spots in my watch box. So yeah, they've kind of been going in the right direction. I can't wait to see what they release next. But this one is definitely one of my favorites. So yeah, very happy with this watch. I think you guys will be happy with it too. So I think that's it for me. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.